Hello, this is Callisto, and this is the video response that I was going to provide for Kev Sharp's video on magazines. He was talking about a couple of magazines that he had bought, and now I'm going to tell you a little bit about a couple of magazines that I have been either buying recently or that I have been reading online. So first up, I have the Battles magazine. This is a magazine that this particular issue here I bought because it contains a game that I really would like to play. It's called 1 Week in Hell, and it simulates the reconquest of the city of Hue during the Vietnam War by the American Marines. And if you've seen Full Metal Jacket, the last couple of scenes where they are invading this city and trying to recapture it, that is actually the Battle of Hue. The magazine itself comes out, they're trying to publish it 4 times a year, but I think they actually don't manage to do that. It always comes with a game, and it comes basically as a huge catalogue of war games. It doesn't really necessarily talk about historical warfare, any historical information except for the game that they're including. So here you have the Tet Offensive and the Battle of Hue. So this is basically their article on a historical piece. The rest, and I don't mean this in any way to sound like I'm talking this down or anything. The rest are in-depth reviews of games, of war games, and of all kinds of different war games. So they are completely independent of any publishing house. So it's not like that this would be Legion Wargames' own magazine or GMT Games' own magazine. So they basically go out, they buy all of those war games, and they review them. So in this particular one we have Ici c'est la France, a game by Kim Kanga. It's the Algerian War of Independence. They also reviewed a game that I own, Field Commander Alexander, 1805, Sea of Glory. So here we have different publishers. Field Commander Alexander would have been Dan Versen Games, Ici c'est la France, that's Legion Wargames, and I think and they've got Richard III, which is a block game. I think that's by Columbus Games, is it? Yes, Columbia Games, sorry. So basically they review games by all kinds of publishers and all types of war games. So block games, strategic games, operational games. And I have to say I've read their reviews, and I like them very much. You get a component overview. They will tell you about playthroughs. They will tell you how the game feels, and they have plenty of pictures as well, so that you can get a real insight into what the game looks like. This would be Richard III. So this is a magazine for people who really want to get an overview over different types of war games and get in-depth reviews. Next up we have Strategy and Tactics. I only have 2 issues of these. These are published by Strategy and Tactics Press, which is affiliated to DecisionGames.com. So Decision Games make games, and they produce different types of magazines. So I think Strategy and Tactics is one. The other one I think is called World at War. And they have a third one whose title I now forget. Let's see, it's World at War and Modern War. So basically they have 3 different lines of magazines. And Strategy and Tactics is the only of these 3 lines that I know, and I bought 2 issues because I was interested in the topic that they were covering. So this one is about 1918. So the cover story is about the First World War, and it covers the American engagement in the First World War and how America joined the First World War, the issues that they faced, because they were coming from an open plain warfare that they would have used in the Civil War, but as well in the wars against the Native American tribes, and then they moved into this trench warfare, which was very, very different from what they had been used to. And this article actually explains the issues that they ran into and how they finally managed to be successful. And it also comes with a game. So these magazines usually come with a game, and the game is related to the cover story. So this is, and since I'm interested in World War One, and since I wanted to play a game around that, I bought this one because it came highly recommended. So I haven't played the game yet, and we'll see how that pans out. The magazine itself doesn't have, as far as I can tell, it doesn't have any reviews of games. It has some, of course, commercial entries, buy this, buy that, but that's fine. It concentrates on different war theaters, different eras, and just gives you information on different battles. So this is basically the game. Here we have also an ancients section. This is the Roman Empire in AD 67. So here we have the Jewish revolt. This would actually be something that probably Kev might like. It's about Josephus. He quoted him. He wrote about the siege of Jerusalem. And then we have a strategy and tactics in country, the Vietnam War. This is a special edition as well. It comes with a game, which I really wanted. That's why I bought the magazine. And again, it will tell you about American warfare in Vietnam. So it's got a huge article on this one. And it also has articles on the Battle of Iwo Jima, Actium, the end of the Roman Republic, the Sea Battle of Actium, Gettysburg, could the South have won? And in all, this is really about warfare in history. So they have articles about warfare. They do try and talk about how this can be translated into a game as well. So they have a game that simulates one of the battles that they're describing. But this is mainly about warfare itself. And the last magazine, which I cannot show you because I've not been able to get a copy, a hard copy, is the GMT Games magazine called C3i. And this is a magazine which is written by GMT Games. It's published by them. And I've never really had a copy of it, so I only know the articles that deal with the games that I've been playing, because what they publish are usually new modules for existing games. So there is a plethora of modules for the GBOH series, and I've actually downloaded them because this is something that I really, really, really like. One of the many things that I really like about GMT. Their back issues are all available as PDF downloads, including the counter scans. So, well, you would have to mount those counters yourself. If you buy the physical issue, then you will get mounted counters. But if you just want to get the module and the back issue isn't available anymore, or it's not available where you live, because getting magazines, and this is what I'll come to later, in Europe is actually quite costly, you can download them and you can mount them yourself, and you get your own module and your new modules. And I've downloaded dozens of modules for GBOH. So from what I can see, GMT's C3i is mainly a house magazine that provides additional modules, but also background information about different battles that may not have been modeled in their games, but that could be modeled, and basically background information about ancients. For example, there are plenty of articles about Roman warfare, Greek warfare, but also other eras that they cover. And it's when they have games, it seems like they're not publishing standalone games with this magazine, but modules for existing games, which of course is great, because when you have a system, an expandable system like GBOH, it's nice that you don't have to buy a new game every so often, but you actually get modules, and you can reuse the counters that you already have, you can reuse the maps that you already have, and you get a couple of counters with the magazine to play. So this is my take on magazines. The one thing that I have to say is getting magazines here in Europe is very difficult, and it is extremely expensive. This magazine, I think, retails at about $28. Shipping is $25. So that's an issue. I actually posted something on the Geek about this, saying, well, you know, I really would like to purchase a couple of these magazines, but when I saw the shipping costs, it just became clear that, you know, it's not really worth it. I pay for shipping as much as I would pay for the whole magazine. It's a bit difficult. It's a bit different for the Battles magazine, because that's actually produced and printed in Europe. So I'm getting this. You can get 4 issues, including the games that they publish and the shipping, for 90 euros. I mean, that's not exactly cheap, but hey. And then I got a lot of responses on the Geek from people saying, well, you know, you can try this particular shop here in this online shop here in Europe, or that online shop here in Europe. And I got these ones off of Board Game Guru at a reasonable price, and the shipping was much, much less than the actual magazine, so that was actually worth it. I like the magazines, but I think it's really important, in my opinion, to check out or check with other people what the magazines are about, because by looking at this magazine you wouldn't be able to know that it doesn't really contain background information about actual warfare, but it's more of a review magazine for war games, which is great. I mean, don't get me wrong, this is a really brilliant magazine, but it is very different from what it does to, let's say, strategy and tactics, and again, very different from the C3i Magazine, which is basically a house magazine for GMT Games, where they cater to existing customers, and I don't think that the stuff that they publish in those magazines is standalone. You cannot just buy the magazine and then play the game that is in it. You would need the base game. So I like the idea of magazines. I totally, because there was a debate, you know, why are they so expensive? Well, small print runs, full color, that makes it expensive. I would actually totally subscribe to these if the shipping from the US wasn't that expensive. So I'm not doing it. What I do is, you know, I check out reviews of some of these magazines, and when I'm kind of interested in one issue, then I'll try and get it here in Europe at a reasonable price. And of course, this is not the fault of the publishers. They have no control over the postal charges. I completely get this, but this is something that really keeps me from buying any or subscribing to any overseas magazines, which is actually quite sad, because I like them a lot, and they are very, very interesting. I mean, even just learning about the problems that the Americans encountered when they first joined the war effort in the First World War, and the different doctrines, military doctrines that clashed and led to problems down the line, that is very, 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 very interesting. Yeah, it gave me a lot of insight into something that I hadn't been aware of before. So I like them a lot, but you know, actually getting them here in Europe is kind of a bit difficult. So that's all from my side with regard to magazines. Kev, I'm waiting for your response. Bye.